Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Greater Good podcast. Thank my sponsor, San Diego Harbor Police Foundation. And with me today, I've got a really exceptional gentleman who's got a remarkable story. Immigrant comes to America, makes it good. In addition to all that, he's a really nice guy. Imagine that. So I'd like to introduce Yehudi Gaffen, otherwise known as Gaff. Hi, Gaff. How are you?
Good, Jeff. Thanks for having me. I'm in Oregon, so the video feed may not be great, and I hope you can hear me, but good to be here.
We can hear you really well. Thank you. Oregon, what part of Oregon are you in?
So we've had growing up in South Africa, I always enjoyed the bush, and about 15 years ago, we bought a small ranch in South Central Oregon, just north of Medford, close to Crater Lake. So we're in the high country, came up for some clear air and weather, but it's smoky as anything I've ever experienced. So climate change is real. I can attest to that.
Yeah, I'm sorry about that. Yeah, because the mass implications of all that smoke and the toxins included in that are pretty horrific. That smoke carries for thousands of miles, literally, unfortunately, and it's becoming more and more rampant. With, like you said, global warming is a factor. There are a multitude of reasons why the fires are so prolific now. But we're not here to talk so much about the fires. But I'm glad you're okay. Now you said a little ranch. So what does little mean to you?
So our place is 80 acres. It has the Big Butte River that goes through the middle of it. I'm an avid fly fisherman, so we have native cutthroat trout and rainbow trout in the stream, and steelhead coming up during the spawning season. And yesterday we were sitting by the river and saw two beavers in the evening. We have a Carne Corso, which is a hunting dog, and he went nuts trying to chase the beavers around. So it's surrounded by hundreds of thousands of acres of public land. So it feels pretty remote.
Is that like BLM land?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, I own some property in Tuolumne County up near Yosemite. Then it's surrounded mostly by BLM land, and they're really delightful agency to work with. They're very accommodating for tree clearing or brush removal or any of those things that I wanted to do to make my property safer. Just because there are fires out there. But well, it sounds like a wonderful place. Now, I heard a rumor that you mostly drive from San Diego to go up to Oregon. Is that true?
Yeah, we didn't do it pre-COVID, but I think when COVID hit, our other residence is in San Diego in a high-rise, and we were not comfortable living in a high-rise during those early stages. Right. So we bought a van. We had a big motorhome, but bought one of those Sprinter, the Mercedes Sprinter vans, and turned it into an adventure van that we can sleep in. So I must tell you, it's one of the silver linings of the pandemic is that we've been traveling a lot. We're actually leaving tomorrow to go to the Oregon coast. But the van's set up for boondocking, for off-roading, and for exploring. So it's been actually a blessing that we've been able to do. We have it fully set up to work in, so I can work while my wife drives, and I'm pretty passionate about that. It's been an amazing experience to kind of get back to what I used to do in Africa, where I used to drive for a safari company, and I've always missed that. So I'm actually enjoying it a lot.
So you work for a safari company. That's interesting, because we were talking just a little earlier with your marketing guys, and I asked them, I said, well, I know the Gaff's from South Africa, and I wasn't certain which city it was. And I said, I wonder if he's ever wrestled a lion, because, that would be a pretty cool story to have in your later years. So is it true? Did you ever wrestle a lion?
No, but came a few feet from a lion. One of the trips, one of our trips, we actually I went on a off-road motorbike. I had a Montesa 250 and rode through Zimbabwe and Zambia and Southwest Africa, and came very close to a lion. So it's
Yeah.
not something I to do again, but it has happened.
Well, I'm glad you're here to report. I think, I used to have an office in Cape Town as a part of my one company I owned, an export trading company, where I had offices in 14 countries around the world. And so, I mean, I absolutely love Cape Town, where I got to spend some time. Is that where you're from?
So I really was a nomad in South Africa. I was born in Johannesburg. I grew up
Hmm.
in Pretoria. After high school, military conscription was compulsory, so went into the military.
Hmm.
And in the military, was deployed all over the border areas.
Oh,
And
right.
then came back, went to university in Cape Town,
Uh-huh.
and before leaving for the United States, before immigrating, I did work in Cape Town. So pretty
Nice.
much have been all over.
You probably know this. Cape Town is the sister city to San Diego.
Yep.
So San Diego has a long-standing connection with South Africa, a very positive one. Yeah, excellent. So you mentioned fly fishing. So do you tie your own flies, or does anyone that fly fishes, is that like the norm?
I do. I actually will show you my vice that I was using this morning. So
Oh, have
I
fun.
tie my flies. Yeah. So yeah, I keep it at my desk. When I get stressed out, I tie some flies.
That's I've heard that's very therapeutic. You have to have steady
No,
hands
it
to
is.
do that, right? Causes you to
And
focus.
I know.
Yeah. So, the purpose of this show is to talk to people that I consider to be important givers within our community. And your company, Gafcon, and yourself are pretty well known for giving back in a multitude of different ways. Maybe you could tell us a little bit about, your life of giving.
Um, yeah, it's an interesting question. I, I think I'm Jewish, and kind of being Jewish, charity is very much embedded into everything about the
Mhm.
faith and religion of helping people who can't help themselves. So
Right.
I guess it goes back to my heritage and my roots and what I learned as a kid with my family. So it's almost part of my DNA. I guess I don't see it as anything new or different.
Hmm.
Um, it, it's really, if you have and you can, then you should help people who can't help themselves, or help make the world a bit better. So it's
Yeah.
always been part of our culture, but at GAFCON, we've taken it on as one of our tribal values of whether it's Habitat for Humanity or any other opportunities to contribute. We've always had it as part of our budgets and part of our culture.
Yeah, that's wonderful. So can you think of one particular program of giving that kind of stands out as a signature for who you are?
Um, it's actually an interesting question, and as you posed it, I was trying to think: does any one thing stand out? And I don't. I don't see one thing standing out. I think education's a big part of what we believe in, and especially assisting in that area with the underserved communities, because
Right.
I had an amazing education, and I came to this country with nothing. And I think it was that education in construction and engineering that gave me the start I needed to do what we've been able to build. So my late mother told me, because my grandparents were all murdered in Eastern Europe because they were Jewish, and
Mm.
My mother always said to me, before you leave, and she encouraged me to leave because she didn't see a future for us in South Africa. But she said, before you leave, you have to get your education. And she said, I don't care what it is. It can be a trade, it can be a profession, but get your education because no one will ever be able to take that from you. So I think that is something that does stand out for me as I think about it.
Yeah, that's wonderful. Well, you mentioned education, and full disclosure, Gafcon and Mr. Gaffen is working with our foundation, the San Diego Harbor Police Foundation, on a very, very interesting project in the Barrio Logan district. Gaff approached me, gosh, 4 or 5 months ago, and he has a vision for the Barrio Logan area. Maybe you could share our listeners with what that vision is.
Yeah, so the vision for Barrio Logan, I guess, started when we started working on the Seaport project, which has a major education focus to it. And as I said, I'm an avid fly fisherman who travels fly fishing, and it's really what awoken me to the danger our ocean is in, where you can go to these remote places, the Seychelles or Fiji, and the amount of plastic and debris washing up on those remote islands is just amazing. It blows your mind. So I've always been fascinated by what I can do to help that. And when we started getting involved in Seaport, we call it our triple P approach, which is about the planet, about people, about profit, obviously, and about purpose. And education is kind of an overarching aspect of that. We spoke earlier about climate change and just how important it is that we educate our kids in terms of what's happening, because they are the people that can really affect that change. I think us older people are almost, accepting it as just something that's given. But for our grandchildren and younger generation, it could change their whole lives going forward. So that led me to include a component for ocean education. We call it our Learning Center. It's a partnership between San Diego Unified and Scripps Institute of Oceanography to really teach kids about the ocean, about career pathways into ocean sciences, into trades that relate to the ocean, whether it's commercial fishing or marine mechanics. So I'm very excited about that. And then that led to a further exploration of the waterfront that abuts Barrio Logan, and the realization that many kids who grew up in Barrio Logan have never seen the ocean. They've never been down to the water. And there's an amazing little beach at the foot of Cesar Chavez Park, which is next to the 10th Avenue Marine Terminal. And so we started looking at that to see how can we improve that, how can we maybe extend our education component to that area to be able to make it a walkable amenity for the kids and schools of Barrio Logan. And then I met you, Jeff, and what was amazing to me was that your work with Perkins, the K8 in Barrio Logan, and the connection to the port, which connects to Seaport, which connects to the waterfront at Barrio Logan. And as I said to you, I never knew what our meeting would lead to, but it just shows how this network and exploration and getting to know people can really, as your podcast says, make the greater good come together by combining resources. So it's actually a very exciting, transformational opportunity of working together. And I have a huge amount of respect for cops. I don't want to be political, but I think this whole idea of defunding the police is just crazy. I think cops are incredibly important to our community, and not all cops are bad. So using the platform to really expose the good work cops do and bringing them into the educational system, I think is something that's needed. And working with you, I think, brings all that together.
Well, we're excited to partner up with you at whatever level. I mean, we're right at that stage where we're doing outreach for additional funding for that project, and I'm very optimistic that we're going to be able to do a lot more. In particular, was Perkins K-8, and hopefully the children that matriculate out of into high school with maybe an academy of some sort. There's a tremendous lack of skills, trade skills, throughout the nation, actually. And I know companies like yourselves and the Port of San Diego, NASCO, Solar Turbines, all of these, Qualcomm, all of these entities that are important players here in San Diego. They are desperately in need of young people that have a skill set when they come out of high school or community college. So, we're just trying to holistically build on that, starting at Perkins K-8 school with some of the most basic things like reading comprehension and food insecurity and skills, career pathways for these young Americans who really need a shot at it. And you mentioned something that's really important to me is that most of these people, and not most, but a large portion of these people in Barrio Logan really have no connection to the water, and yet they're only a couple of blocks away in most cases. And so we started a program called Fish with a Cop a couple of years ago, and we took initially 27 young Perkins students, mostly sixth and seventh graders, out ocean fishing. So we had 27 kids with 27 police officers, no guns, no badges, just everybody having a great time with the cool T-shirts. And they caught 110 fish. And like you said, not one of those students had ever been on the water, and not one of them had ever been fishing. So, let alone fly fishing, which is like the masters of watercraft. So, like you said, we just really want to build on that. And with your help from you personally and Gafcon and the connections that you have available, I'm really looking forward to us moving forward in a very dramatic, impactful way. So
Yeah.
you're like a super, super busy guy. I mean, you're on the road a lot. You have a big company. You have literally projects all around the world, not the least of which is this $2.5 billion Seaport Village project that your company is going to be overseeing. Where in all of that do you find the balance you need in your life to maintain, the level of energy you need?
Yeah. It's also a difficult question to answer. I must tell you, I wouldn't have it any other way. I really enjoy working. I really enjoy risk taking. I really enjoy reaching for challenges that may be a little out of reach. It's what gets my blood flowing. Yeah. And if that's not part of my life, I don't think I would be happy. So to me, I do take time away. I do have quite a few hobbies, whether it's working on my van or fly fishing or exercising or mountain biking. So I tend to balance it. When I do feel burnt out, I take the time to really tune into that and say, look, I'm getting burnt out. I need to do something different. Mm-hmm. So, this morning I started working at 4:30, and at 11 I felt really burnt out. So I'm fortunate that I have my gym at home now, so I could go and get a workout in. I have a Peloton bike on my deck, which I've pulled into my cabin now that the air's so bad. And so I'm blessed by being able to make my own schedule and, decide when I do what and pick what I want to do. So I feel very, very privileged at this stage of my life to be in that position. But I love where I'm at. I wouldn't have it any other way. A few friends have retired, and I couldn't think of anything worse.
I share your feelings. You and your wife Pam are really, you personify the all-American dream. in the sense that you came from South Africa with an education and little else, and then here you are today, a major player in the real estate development space, and realigning cities, realigning convention centers, realigning Seaport Village. I mean, it's a pretty impressive resume that you've built up over the years. Uh, you know, how do you feel about that?
I would never have, if I think about it, I didn't aim to do this. I didn't aim, and I appreciate what you're saying, but I think it's stretching it a little bit to say I'm one of the big players here. But I remember when we came and we had nothing, and I have this very clear recollection of telling my wife Pam, if we could ever afford a BMW 3 Series, we'll have made it, right? And I remember telling her that that was my aspiration at the time, right? But
Yeah.
to me, I think it's about the little things. Someone once said to me, "It's the big and the little, and then the middle takes care of itself." It's doing those small things well, and not just it's like I was a marathon. I've run about 12 marathons, and an old coach once said to me, you never look too far ahead and you never look back. Just take one step at a time and you'll get to the finish line, right?
Yeah.
And it's almost a credo that stayed with me, because I ran marathons in South Africa, and it's really about those little things, just keep working, keep building, keep being honest, keep being ethical, do what's right. And to me, everything else falls into place, I think.
Yeah.
Because, especially in a place like San Diego, in LA, because we have offices in LA, you can do bad things and still keep going. In San Diego, you can't run away from your past, right? People know you, they know what you're about. You almost have to pay your dues for people to trust you and to want to do business with you. Which is good and bad, right? You can't come into San Diego overnight and think you can do big deals, right? I think people want to know what you're about before they trust you or do any deals with you. So, to me, that's been what's, whether it was, I don't think it was planned. It's maybe just part of who I am. But it's worked. It's worked for me and my family, and the opportunities given to me here, I just can't say enough about, because I'm not sure there are many places in the world where those opportunities can be leveraged to kind of move forward and get into position and be successful. And I feel very, very honored and privileged to have been able to have been given this opportunity.
Yeah, my grandfather used to always tell me, he was a very wise guy, and he'd say, well, the harder you work, the luckier you get. And so, when you talk about given, it strikes a chord with me that nothing was really ever given to you, Mr. Gaffen. You earned it the honest, hard way, by hard work and being smart. And that always wins out. So congratulations to you and Pam and your family and your company. You're way too humble about who you are, in particular in this community. If the name Gaff is mentioned pretty much anywhere on the waterfront, everyone shakes their head and they say, "Yep, I know that gentleman." So
I'll also
earned
say,
it.
I can't take all the praise for it. I truly do believe we're all a product of our heritage and our DNA and what went into it. My late father had me when he was 62. I never knew him. He passed away very soon afterwards. But the urban legend is that he was an orphan in Lithuania, and obviously it was a very tough life in the orphanage. They had to go and beg for food in the evening because there wasn't enough food to give to the kids in the orphanage. And he decided
Wow.
he had enough. He was going to run away. So someone said, "You got to." This was 1910. Someone said,
Mm.
"You got to get to the United States." He couldn't speak English, so he asked them what should he do. So they gave him a piece of paper that said USA on it, and told him, get down to the port and find a
Mhm.
boat that's going to the USA. And he did that. He ran away. He stowed away at night on a boat that said USA on it. But
Mm.
unfortunately, South Africa at the time was the Union of South Africa, which was also
Mhm.
USA.
Right.
And the boat took him to South Africa. So,
He got on the
so
wrong boat. What a story. That's
yeah. So when
hilarious.
I think about that, and I think about a boy of 13, right, who had the
Yeah.
gumption and risk-taking ability to do that,
Mhm.
uh, to me, that's his spirit is still in me and with me. So I often think about that.
I can imagine. What a great story. Um, I don't think I've ever heard that kind of a story where they wanted to come to America and they went to the Union of South Africa instead. Lucky for us, now you're here, your family's here, so it
Yeah,
all worked out. So I'm sure he's listening. So let's give him a high five for not so good navigation skills, but certainly had the right passion, right?
right, right. Yeah, yeah.
So moving forward, you've got this kind of idyllic life. You work hard, but you live well. What are your long term visions and goals?
I guess it's to continue being involved in projects that make a difference, and also continue to be involved in educating our community. Because to me, again, that's at the foundation of everything, right? Whether if
Mhm.
we want to correct climate change, education's the biggest thing. We have to educate the younger generation, even the older generation, as to what's happening
Mhm.
and why it's happening.
Right.
So those are my two things. My two focus areas are projects that are not just about making money, but making a difference. As I
Mhm.
said, to the planet, to the people, and projects with a purpose. So I feel we're well positioned to do that,
Mhm.
and I think it's what keeps us all going, right? It's what keeps us alive.
Yeah,
It's what gets us out of bed in the morning.
for sure.
Because without that, you lose interest, right? And that's just the beginning of the end.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Well spoken. I know that personally, I would not have imagined I'd be sitting here doing a podcast. And by the way, a young woman the other day told me I looked like a millennial, and I wasn't sure if that was a compliment or a slam. I had to look it up, but doing a podcast and then managing the San Diego Harbor Police Foundation and some of the remarkable things that we've been able to accomplish in a really pretty short time frame, in spite of the pandemic. We've been very progressive and aggressive in terms of working on important projects and just touting what we've done. We're going to be launching in the next 60 to 90 days our human trafficking awareness training, which is, I think, going to be probably one of the best in the nation in terms of creating the proper awareness about this heinous crime, in particular within the tourism industry, which, of course, San Diego is world renowned for. So we're going to be putting that out in collaboration with District Attorney Summer Steffen and the police departments throughout the county. Uh, that'll be a program that's available at no cost for companies, airport, port tenants, hotels, companies like yourself. We would encourage you to have your employees take that training. It's 20 minutes, and it's could hopefully save someone's life. So yeah, I just never imagined that I'd be sitting here. In fact, my wife told me the other day I've had a lot of interesting careers in my life, run multiple companies, kind of like you, very entrepreneurial. And she said to me, of all the things that you've done, some really high profile stuff, this is the best job you've ever had. And I had to agree with her. Really enjoy, reaching out to the community and providing support where we can. I had the opportunity to meet people like yourself, which has been, a great, budding new relationship. I'm really excited about where it's going to go. And I've met some extraordinary people, including on this podcast. In fact, this podcast today, in a little while, I'm going to be interviewing Cristiano Amon from Qualcomm. He's the new CEO of the company. So, you're a good lead-in for the biggest employer next to the federal government in San Diego County. So, well, it's been a real pleasure talking with you today, Gaff. I wish you and Pam all the best, and I hope that you can get out of Oregon without consuming too much of that toxic smoke. And I look forward to a long and meaningful relationship.
Yeah, thank you very much. Appreciate you having me on the show, and look forward to working with you.
Absolutely.
To do the greater good, right?
That's the plan.